Okay, we'll make a start now. Welcome, everyone, to this information webinar. This is the second and final information webinar, which is focusing on presenting the general information about the Deutsche Bank Awards for Creative Entrepreneurs 2024, delivered in partnership with MiWi 360. My name is Martine, and I work with MiWi 360, supporting applicants throughout the process in preparing applications. And with me today on this call is Sarah, MiWi 360's project and membership coordinator, and Sarah is supporting on everything tech. Sarah will also be keeping an eye on the chat as we go along to see any questions that you have coming through. So this presentation will last about an hour, including questions. Feel free to type your questions in the chat as they come up, and now and again I will pause to see whether there are any questions that are relevant to the specific topic. But if we don't get to your specific question, don't worry, we will make sure that by the end of the presentation all your questions will have been answered. We've also got Jane on the call today, who is providing captioning services. So if that would be of use, please do enable that via the menu, and instructions will also be provided in the chat. Right, so before we get started, it would be great to get you all involved. If you could please introduce yourselves via the chat box. You could share your name, your location, whether it's somewhere in England or outside of the UK. And then if you could also share your core creative industry, as well as the social impact, it would be great to get a sense of who we've got in the room and the mixture.
Yes, okay.
Oh, careful with if we can all put ourselves on mute, that would be really helpful. Yeah, I mean, you never know who you might meet on this call as a result of just sharing what you're doing, and there are potentially some really interesting crossovers and potentials for collaboration. So I'll just give you a few minutes for that. I love it. Nyasha, oh, I've lost, helps young people secure their dream jobs. Great tagline. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing, everyone. We've got a really nice mix of expertise and passions from dance, beauty, fashion, video, jewelry, arts and crafts. Wow. Okay. I'm struggling to keep up, but it's looking really good. Keep it coming. Okay. In the meantime, I'll get started. So, the Deutsche Bank Awards for Creative Entrepreneurs has existed since 1993. And since then, it has supported the launch of over 400 ventures. The program has changed over time to adapt to the changing needs of the creative industries and the sector, and the needs of the entrepreneurs that are creating their initiatives. And at its core, DBACE supports visionary creative entrepreneurs who are driven by a mission to gain social value through their enterprise. Throughout the hour, but for now, I'd just like to highlight the fact that DBACE really puts a lot of value and importance on the leader behind an enterprise, the entrepreneur, the founder, the team, and this driving force who creates through their enterprise using the creative industries to further the vision that this person might have, you as entrepreneurs, in creating, making an impact in the world and their communities, making it a better place. So since 2019, Deutsche Bank has partnered with MiWi 360 on the delivery and growth of the DBACE program. So who here is familiar with Deutsche Bank? Deutsche Bank is one of the largest financial institutions in the world, and alongside their finance-related activity, they are committed to helping build the long-term success of the UK creative industries. DBACE is a flagship program among Deutsche Bank's various CSR activities, which globally support the success of all kinds of entrepreneurial ventures that create wider social good. And this includes micro enterprises, startups, not-for-profits, as well as commercial businesses. MiWi 360, also known as MiWi, is a not-for-profit sector support organisation, which is part of Arts Council England's national portfolio of organisations. MiWi's mission is to uncover the UK's hidden leadership talents and support the development of the creative talent that exists. Through bespoke business support and leadership development, MiWi supports the development of entrepreneurs and their businesses. And this takes the form through one-to-one mentoring and consultancy, peer-to-peer learning and networking, as well as wider support from the team. MiWi's network is made up of a high caliber of industry mentors and consultants, including Farouk Chaudhry, Tamara Howe, David Kershaw, and Dame Heather Roberts. So what does DBACE offer? We're looking at a 60k prize pot that gets divided amongst 5 winners. There is also 12 months of tailored business support, and this offer of business support gets extended to up to 5 strong applicants, and this is prioritized to the finalists of the awards. So just to say that the benefits extend beyond the 5 winners, so that's also something to look out for and look forward to. So let's do a quick recap on the eligibility. Since last year, DBACE is now open to all entrepreneurs over the age of 18 years old. All business stages are accepted, from idea stage, pre-launched, to more established businesses that are looking to scale. The idea really is to add value to your ventures and your initiatives through the support of the program. DBACE is also open to both not-for-profit as well as commercial ideas, so long as positive impact is at the core of your mission. You must be actively working on your enterprise, or if you're not yet launched, then you must be actively seeking to launch. And that's just so that the program makes sure that it is adding value and that progress will be made. Groups can apply, and even if a group applies, there will still be a lead applicant to represent your application on the written form, but that applicant, yeah, it's representative of the whole group. And there is a legal requirement for UK residency for all applicants, say that applies to the group as well. All applicants within the group, they must be residents until at least June 29th, 2025, and that's to do with the delivery of the business support as a result of the award. So applying to DBACE is full of opportunities, from the information and one-on-one sessions providing tips for framing your business, to receiving funding as a winner, that provides that launch pad to achieve your milestones. The process and application form is designed to help you formulate your thoughts and idea into a plan. And if you're shortlisted, you'll be pitching to industry professionals, which is both great for networking as well as receiving feedback. As I've presented already, the funding is accompanied by business supports to support the growth of your program, the growth of your enterprise even. So here we have a quote from Melissa Morris, one of last year's winners and the co-founder of the Bit and Peach. Melissa shares, "The Bit and Peach felt so supported right from the beginning of the application process, and our mentor has been a source of encouragement. We are immensely grateful for this opportunity and so excited for everything to come. Thank you, DBACE." Okay, so here we're looking at the list of creative disciplines that are eligible according to DBACE. We've got advertising creative, that's media, content creative, creative marketing, agency sort of work. We've got architecture, design, crafts, fashion, gaming, film and TV. Immersive technology in support of the creative industries. Multidisciplinary, that's really when it's kind of mixing up anything. There's more than one that applies. visual arts, and then other in support of the creative industries. So just to say about these two, which are in support of the creative industries, immersive technology by itself is not eligible unless it has a direct link to one of these creative fields. And the same applies with the very wide, broad category. And an example I can give on that, which is super wide ranging and normally outside of the creative industries, is in 2019, one of the finalists to be selected was a team who was leading this enterprise called Hydro Cotton. And their activity was agricultural based. They were producing cotton, but their whole mission was geared towards making the fashion industry more environmentally friendly and ethical. And because it had that direct link to the fashion industry, the agricultural activity fits for DBACE. So that's just to give a bit of context as to the creative industries. Before I move on, this tends to bring up a few questions. So yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
great
we
to.
have a question from Millie. She asks, is the beauty eligible?
So, what sort of beauty are we talking about? If it's beauty products, I think no, the beauty industry in itself isn't. However, there is a way if your beauty business is, yeah, I remember there was an applicant who was eligible who was focusing on hair and makeup for um film sets, for example, or theatre productions. And so, because it was directly supporting those creative disciplines, it did work. But by itself, beauty and cosmetics does not work. Same with food, same with sports. Are there any more questions? Okay.
No.
So, when it comes to impact, social impact, the definition and eligibility for DBACE is much more broad ranging. Essentially, it's totally up to you to demonstrate what impact you're seeking to achieve. It could be social, it could be environmental. You could be focused on a multitude of different issues, which, depending on how you do it, it's beneficial to work on multiple issues. The key is that you articulate in your application what societal challenge you're seeking to address, why it's important, and how you're looking to contribute to that issue. I wanted to make a note also that DBACE is about the longevity of enterprises. It's not looking to fund project base like singular projects. It's about building long-term enterprises. And so if you can articulate throughout your application your long-term visions for the impact that you would like to achieve through your enterprise, all the better. DBACE is about supporting ambitious individuals. So if you can communicate that ambition, even if it feels far off, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you've got that long-term plan to grow and grow and grow and achieve a greater impact as time goes on. Okay, does anyone have any questions on the impact, social impact side of things?
Hi, Martin. Sorry, I don't have a question. If you don't mind, could you just repeat the last two sentences that you said? I was just
Ooh, what
taking
did I
some
say?
notes. You said about the longevity impact of what your company is trying to achieve. I was just writing it down.
Yeah, that's fine. I can repeat the content. I'll reword it, but for anything moving forward, this recording will be made available as well, so don't worry about losing those notes. But essentially, for this one, I was just touching on the point that, yeah, talking about your long-term vision beyond the next year, for example, is important on the application because it demonstrates that you are thinking long term. You do have ambition to grow and to further your impact as you go. And yeah, even if it feels like if you're at an earlier stage in your business, it feels like it's too far-fetched, it doesn't matter because all dreams start somewhere. Yeah, I can see a hand raised.
Yeah, hi, I'm Shubhangam. I just wanted to ask, like, if you're working with the craft community, which is like a non-profit thing, but it's based in India, like we're working directly with the craft artisans based in we are doing the business back in UK. So is this something that we can do, or will this be accepted as a part of this program?
Yeah, so that's, I think we're coming to, no, we're not coming there yet, but we'll cover in the FAQs that activities can be delivered in the UK, outside of the UK, globally, so long as you as an applicant have that eligibility status, residential status in the UK, then it makes you eligible, but the impact can happen worldwide. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Thank you.
I think for any general questions, we wait until the end. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go through a few. We've got 4 examples from previous winners, just to give you a bit of flavor. Having said that, it's a non-exhaustive list, as I mentioned earlier. The impact side of things is super wide-ranging in terms of eligibility, and DBACE would love to hear from a wide range of causes and approaches. There's also, I'm only going to show 4 now, but there is, you can see all the previous winners and finalists or bursary recipients of business support via the DBACE website since 2019. So that gives you a much longer list of varied activities. Equally, if whatever you're doing is not in there, don't worry, because we're always open to new activities and issues or sectors. So this first example is Artistry Youth Dance. Kamara Gray is the founder, and she was one of the winners last year. Artistry Youth Dance is a youth dance company that supports young people of African and Caribbean heritage in the UK, and it's set up to nurture a more culturally diverse dance community. They empower young people through creative dance development, helping them grow their confidence, and they do this through trainings, classes, and the opportunity to perform both nationally and internationally. Pivot is a social enterprise that empowers people experiencing homelessness to pivot their lives by learning how to craft beautiful and sustainable jewelry. They offer specialized 12-week programs that create flexible employment opportunities within hostels. And so they go into the hostels, deliver the programs, and as a result, the participants can develop income streams to gain financial independence. Leville is a casting and media agency that specializes in providing opportunities for emerging creative talent, both in front and behind the camera. Their slogan, "More than just talent," fuels their mission in bringing underrepresented creatives to the forefront of the TV and film industry. And Leville recently just celebrated their 8th birthday as a company. And with that milestone, they have pivoted and expanded their company into a 360 creative agency, expanding their services, which is really exciting. And as a DBACE winner, it's really exciting to see that growth as a result. The Bit and Peach is another one of last year's winners. The Bit and Peach is the UK's first queer pan-Asian cabaret production company, and they work with over 70 performers of Asian descent, spanning a variety of cabaret art forms on and off stage, including drag, burlesque, dance, comedy, music, spoken word, and circus. They tell Asian stories, create safe spaces, diversify Asian representation, provide platforms, and educate on racial issues. I remember that when they were applying last year, as part of their application pitch, it was demonstrating how niche they are and how needed they are in this space and in the community. They were saying that there is a total lack of this space for their community. They I'm probably going to paraphrase slightly wrong, but they used phrase such as, "We're too queer for the Asians and too Asian for the queer." So they needed really to create a separate entity to create that community for themselves. So here are some key dates that are worth taking note of. As I'm sure you're aware, applications are open and have been since the end of January. There are ongoing support sessions until the end of March, including this one, and I'll cover what else is available. The application deadline. So submissions close at midnight on April 2nd, 2024. It's coming up in a few weeks now, just over a month. And I would just really recommend and urge you all to not leave it until the last minute. The website could get overloaded, processing times will lag, and it would be a real shame for your application not to go through as a result of just use. So if you can submit at least a few days in advance, all the better, if not a few hours. So the long list will then be announced on May 23rd after a few weeks of judging. And those long-listed applicants will be invited to a pitching masterclass and follow-up workshops to practice their pitch between May 28th, June 4th. And this is really to develop the pitch, get feedback, and prepare for the live pitches that take place in front of a panel of judges early June. And the finalists are announced on the June 13th. The final pitch, which then takes place in person, whereas the first one, I believe, takes place online, virtually. The final pitch takes place in person in London. Travel expenses can be arranged on June 18th, with the awards event and winner announcement on July 4th. So some key dates for your diary. Here are some FAQs. We've got way more on the website, but here are some key ones. So in terms of how to apply, the one way to do it is online through the website. It should be relatively straightforward so long as you follow the user journey. If you have any questions, please do get in touch with the team for support on that. Can I submit more than one application? So if you have applied previously, you are welcome to reapply. However, we do not accept this more than one application per applicant on different enterprises. So if you have founded different groups, you'd have to choose. Sorry, if you have founded different businesses or not-for-profits, choose the one that you want to apply with. However, if you have submitted at some point and you wish to submit a new one because you have new information, you can do that, and your latest submission will be the one that gets counted. So my business has won another competition. Can I apply with the business idea that has already won an award? The answer is yes. It means that you're getting traction. It's really exciting. Congratulations. So do let the judges know throughout the application. Group applications are allowed. It doesn't really make a difference from a judging perspective whether you are an individual or a group. It just needs to make sense. So if you've got a team behind you, it's worth applying as a group. But it's not a necessary thing. You can also apply as an individual, and that makes just as much sense depending on your situation. I think the next question is what I answered earlier in terms of if you live abroad or your project takes place overseas, can you still apply? So yes, the project can be delivered wherever in the world, so long as you've got that legal residency ticked until that time frame. So about the prize money, as I mentioned, there's a 60k prize pot and it's split between 5 winners. It's not necessarily split equally. It probably ranges, it's up to a maximum of 20k per winner. So it probably ranges between 8k and 20k. And that final decision is made by the final panel of judges, and as a result of the final presentations that the finalists give, giving different proposals. But you don't need to worry about that at this stage, because all of that is something that finalists get supported through as the process takes place. The prize money is a grant, so there's nothing to pay back. It's totally equity free. There you go, a grant. So I wanted to take you through some of the judging criteria. It breaks into 4 sections. One is social impact. So as I mentioned before, that's a really important part of the award. It's all about harnessing the creative industries to create positive impact. And so it's up to you to determine or argue the criticality of the issue, how important it is, how many people is it affecting, why should the judges care, and how are you placed to make a difference. All of that is important, and as I mentioned earlier, the vision to scale, future ambition is all part of that as well. The second aspect is the business model. So here we're talking about financial sustainability in the future. How viable is it? How possible? How does it differ to what already exists out there? What are your unique selling points? And here we're really looking at the ability to sustain change and impact throughout time as opposed to a one-off project. Value add is the next criteria area. So DBACE is looking to add value to the entrepreneur and your ideas. How can the funding and the business supports help you achieve milestones that you want to achieve? Individual. Here we're looking at the technical expertise that you might have as an entrepreneur or as an expert in your sector, but we're also looking at the more personal personality traits and characteristics, such as, so you can bring out the fact that, well, characteristics such as your personal motivation and your dedication to your passion and your mission. And then also showing that you're open to develop and learn is equally important, so that you are willing to engage with the business support as a result. In terms of the quality of the presentation, here we're just showing that you can communicate clearly, communicate your idea. That's what's really important. I would advocate for succinct, shorter sentences, avoid jargon, but all of that will also be covered in the application writing webinar, which I will give some more information on shortly. So the next few slides are going to look at a few application questions, just to highlight some things to keep in mind. So this question 5, traction, we're looking at the proof that you have that there is demand for your product and service. So the evidence that you'll have will vary depending on where you're at with your business, if you've launched or not. If you haven't launched, then it might be more research-based. If you have, then we might be looking more at sales and press engagement and repeat sales and all of these things. So you've got multiple tick boxes here. You can always tick other for anything else that does not fit into these options. And then for each tick box that you do click, there is a comment box that appears, in which it would be really helpful if you could provide greater detail and explain. So for example, if you click achieved repeat sales, then you can talk about how many repeat sales within a certain time frame, just to provide the context to the reader. This question around income sources, I'm showing it today just to highlight the fact that all applicants need to answer this question. There are some financial questions that only need to be answered by applicants who have an established business, but this one should be answered by everyone, and it's asking about income sources both now and in the future. So think about, you should include anything from grants to side hustle pocket money that you might be, if you're self-funding your business as you're starting to grow it, products and services that you have developed or would like to develop, donations if that's something that you are looking to do. Yeah, if you can include it in here, and if you need to bullet point, that's also fine. The point is to make it super clear for the reader. This question as well is another financial question which should be answered by everyone. It's changed slightly from last year. I don't know how many people on the call has applied previously, but hopefully this provides a more straightforward experience for you. So the reason there are two columns here is because there are 2 rows is because 2 years has been selected. But if you could only forecast for 1 year, then you would only get text boxes for 2024 to 2025, and the same for 3 years. So these times that are being asked for, they are business terms, and they are all going to be explained via a financial forecasting webinar also. And there are resources on the DBACE website to access to provide greater definition on this. But yeah, I also really recommend the financial forecasting webinar to dive deep into this. If for whatever reason you cannot provide a forecast, there is a comment box down below, which in any case asks you to provide greater detail on any core costs. But yeah, if you're in the situation in which you cannot provide a forecast, I recommend adding some context and some information as to why, just so that the judges understand. I think there's a question raised. Someone's raising their hand. Is it?
Hi.
Okay.
I have a question. It was about the previous slide. So I'm part director of a CIC, but we also have a that's because we do various B2B activities, which the limited side handles, and then we've got our CIC, which typically accepts sponsorships, donations. I think we'd be applying for the CIC arm for this, even though both kind of would benefit from it. So in terms of when we state our income, can we also point to the limited branch of the company, not just the CIC, or can I only talk about the CIC's income?
No, I think that if your application is coherent, it makes sense, like in terms of you mentioning it earlier through in the application, in terms of maybe question 1 when it's asking you what are you doing? That's not the question, but it's essentially what it's asking. There you could talk about the structure in a short way so as not to eat up all the word count, and just explain how your enterprise works. And then it would make sense, because if your limited company is supporting the CIC activity as well, then it definitely makes sense to explain that.
Brilliant. And would you want me to put the figures for both the CIC and the limited in the next slide that you presented with the forecast and the those figers?
That's
Sorry.
a very good question. You know what? I think whatever I'm going to struggle to answer that question without knowing the details of your enterprise. But whatever you do, you can just explain the logic of it and what you've done in the comment box that appears underneath what you see on the screenshot.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would just say, when in doubt, add further explanation so that there's no room for doubt for the judges. There's plenty of space within the application to add extra information, just to make sure that your whatever you're saying isn't going to be misunderstood. I think there's another hand raised. Sorry, I can't actually see any names or people. I can just see emojis.
Hiya, I've got a hand raised. My name's Question. Can you hear me? Hiya.
Yeah.
I just had a quick question about will it support a project that deals with DeFi and smart contracts to help the creative industry?
Sorry, your volume's quite low actually. What do you support a project that? Sorry, could you go again and maybe?
Sure. Support a project that deals with DeFi, decentralized finance, and smart contracts that supports the creative industry, how to raise funds and distribute work within the creative industry.
Yeah, I think so, because that would fit under the other in support of the creative industries.
Okay, great. Okay,
you just have to really be clear on the fact that your primary mission is to support the creative industries.
Okay.
And it's in that way that it would be eligible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, this question is really where you can go deep into the value add aspect of the criteria. It's asking about the value that DBACE can provide you. So don't forget to talk about both the funding and the business support in this section. Also, just to emphasize, under all questions, there's this pink text providing greater information and tips and insight on what the question is asking. So do make sure to read through that to make sure that, yeah, you're not going to miss anything. Okay, so there is a video pitch, which is part of the application. It's one of the final things that are asked. And so it's maximum 1 minute. It's the equivalent of an elevator pitch, which is essentially the concept is, imagine you walk into the elevator and your greatest stakeholder, whether it's a client, an investor, a journalist, whoever is in there, and you've got very limited time to get your point across. So think about what is the most important thing to say, keeping in mind all I've said in terms of what DBACE is about, what it's looking for, and the criteria. And it's also a great opportunity to really bring your application to life, bring out the energy that you have for your enterprise. Yeah, it is that opportunity to bring it to life alongside your written words. So do take that into account. It doesn't have to be super technical. You can selfie video yourself on your phone. That's absolutely fine. The key thing is that we can hear you, we can see you, and that we are getting what you are doing. It's worth getting someone to watch it over and just make sure that your points are coming across clearly and that it's well received. And then there is a PDF document on the DBACE website, which is focused on the video pitch. So if you haven't seen that already, do look at it because it gives you advice on the content and structure of it, and things that you might want to consider including. Keep in mind that all of this might differ from one enterprise to another, depending on what your activity is. But hopefully you can provide some guidance. You can get some input and insight from that. What I would emphasize on this and where go wrong in the past is when applicants have reused videos that were clearly made for another award. So just to reiterate, it doesn't have to be a massive investment in time or energy. So just make sure that you are tailoring this video pitch to DBACE and talking about what you would like to get from DBACE as well. It's always appreciated. So in terms of application support offered throughout the program, so I've covered a little bit already, but on the website, you've got loads of videos and PDF documents, including resource directories, glossary of terms, and different tip sheets and guides to writing a plan, which gets broken down into different topics such as marketing and finances, legals, and IP. There are meet and greet sessions, which are one-on-one, as well as one-on-one application support sessions, the webinar series. We've also got the newsletter. So if you aren't signed up to the newsletter, I recommend doing that just to get some reminders and tips as the deadline approaches. And then for long-listed applicants in stage 2, as I mentioned, there's that pitching masterclass and practice sessions. So this is the date. Next Thursday, 29th of February at 12 p.m, we will have the financial forecasting webinar. It's taking place once. It is recorded for those who can't make it, but if you can make it, I really urge you to do it because we will have an expert from Deutsche Bank in the room providing all the information, and it's a good opportunity to get all your questions, your specific questions answered. And some insight in advance until the recording is made available. We've also got this application writing webinar on Saturday, the 9th of March at 11 a.m. So that again will be really useful in terms of thinking about how to approach the application, break it down, how to formulate your ideas and make sure that what you're doing is coming across as clearly as possible. These are the different one-on-one sessions. We've got application support with advisors where you can go deeper into the application. Meet and greets are focused on any questions that you have. You can get, it's one-on-one time with a member of the team. Any questions you have, you can get answered, and you can also get some support in how to approach the application. But it's not to look at your the writing of your application. And then there's financial forecasting support, which is really just focused on that part, that question 18 that I showed you. We're coming to an end here. So here is the contact information, the DBACE I'm sure you're aware of, but just in case, www.dbace.org. Sarah is on the other side of that email, dbace@miwi360.com. If you've got any questions, do send them across. And to stay up to date on all things DBACE, MiWi360 is running the marketing and campaign across all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Not all, but a good amount. So yeah, do keep up to date that way and via the newsletter, as I mentioned. So thanks for your attention. And now we'll open up the floor to any questions and make sure we answer anything that's come through the chat.
Yeah, should I start with some of the eligibility questions, Martine?
Sure.
So we had a question from someone asking, my co-founder is based in Holland, but I am in the UK. Am I still okay to apply?
Is your co-founder a UK resident? Because if they're a UK resident, then yes. If they're not, then you should probably apply as an individual. Because my understanding, unless I've got that wrong, maybe Sarah and Shiva can step in, but my understanding is that that is okay so long as you would then be applying as an individual as opposed to a group.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it is essentially the person that applies. So yes, exactly right.
Yeah, and then would also benefit from the business support as well.
Exactly.
Be the primary engager.
Perfect. Next question is, does it include all types of design? I think this is in reference to one of your one of the stuff that the examples you mentioned earlier. So it's asking, does it include all types of design, not just graphics, for example?
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Eligibility, whether like all sort of design businesses can.
Oh, design. Yeah. I think product design is definitely way up there. I think when if it's a bit too like scientific and engineering, that's where it becomes a bit gray area. So I'd say that if it was related to like in support of if it was an engineering product design in support of the creative industries, then yes. But then it's more designer product design where it does fit.
Cool. And someone asked, this is a tricky one. Does it support projects that use DeFi, which means decentralized finance, to support the creative industries?
Do I know what that means? Is that the activity that you're doing? You're providing decentralized finance.
I think that was the person who put up a hand and asked. So I think so. Yes.
If you want some more guidance around eligibility and just talk a little bit more about your business, I would encourage you to sign up for a meet and greet with someone, and it's just easier to do that because we will actually get to know who you are and what your business is. So definitely do that. Okay. Next question is, so this person says, it's just a pipe dream in my head and I have no infrastructure. Can I still apply?
Absolutely. Big yes, big resounding yes. Yeah, DBACE wants to hear from everyone, and the bigger the pipe dream, the better. If you didn't get that from everything that I've said. And there is a question towards the beginning, which is just gathering general information on your enterprise status. But if you're not set up as an organization yet, that's totally fine. DBACE has supported founders who have not yet got to that stage of setting up. As I mentioned, it's open to pre-launch, and often the business support can be really beneficial in figuring out what the best structure is. And so that's something that you could also talk about in terms of the value add and what you would be how you'd be looking to benefit from the program.
We have a question saying, if you don't have financial info as you are pre-startup, can you still apply for it as an idea, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Like as an idea, yeah. So let me go back to these two questions. There were the two questions on financial forecasting. So question 13 is more or less the first question in the financial section. I think there's one question before which asks whether you've received funding before. So that's yes or no, and then pretty straightforward. So this one is if you're at that idea stage, you should be talking about how you will generate income, whether through grants such as through this program or via the development of products and services. All of that should just go in there because you're thinking about how you can pull your business off. And then between question 13 and 18, there are lots of questions that apply to applicants who have already set up. So you can ignore those. But then, yeah, as I was mentioning, it's always worth giving this one a shot. And at risk of repeating myself, do come to the financial forecasting webinar just to go deep into how to approach this, because we'll get some really good guidance from a Deutsche Bank financial expert on this.
I am an international student. Am I eligible to apply?
It goes back to the eligibility criteria of the residential status. So I think that comes down to the visas and how long the visas are last. So it kind of depends on that, because there is a strict eligibility criteria on that residency until the 29th of June 2025. So unless you can prove that, or guaranteed. So if you've got it guaranteed, then you are eligible to apply. If not, then unfortunately it's not, you wouldn't be eligible.
Okay, Sally asks, we didn't get through last year. Is it possible to find out why rather than waste our time or yours?
Like Sarah mentioned earlier, I would book in a meet and greet to go in deeper about your enterprise, to find out more about what you're doing, how you could approach the application to show it in the best light, and build a strong application. It's hard with these things because last year I think there were close to 500, maybe more than 500 applications, and 18 applicants or 19 applicants get shortlisted. So it's not necessarily that you haven't got a great application. It's like with all awards, it's a tricky one. So I wouldn't lose hope on that aspect, and I would always say reapply. You've got the benefit of more experience as well, and you can also talk about, I think DBACE judges really love to read when applicants have applied in the past, and then you can talk about what you have achieved since last time you applied. That's always something really good to incorporate into your application.
Yeah, just bear in mind, like a lot of people have applied to this award and maybe done it multiple times and then ended up winning. So it's not like it can't happen.
Yeah, we can name a few applicants like that, actually, to be fair, over the last few years. So yeah, don't lose hope.
Mm. So how do you protect pictures from being shared with third parties?
DBACE has it's all in the privacy policy term, or the terms and conditions. The pictures aren't shared beyond the admin, the DBACE team, the judges, and there is all the privacy policies in place to make sure that it isn't shared, because especially with enterprises where there is IP involved, the team understands that it can be risky if you're waiting for patents and all that stuff. So it's never something that we'd want to put at risk. So it's incorporated into the basic terms and conditions. Oops.
Correct. So I've got a question here. How many applications do we expect to receive? So you kind of answered that. Last year we had around 500. So it's always tricky to say, really, but we might get less, we might get more.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Who are the judges?
The judges are made up of team members from MeWe 360 and from Deutsche Bank. The team members change year from year, and they're selected, and then there's a judging process which I'm not super familiar with, and can provide detail with. But yeah, the first round of judges come from Deutsche Bank and MeWe 360, and then the second rounds where long-listed applicants are invited to pitch live. Again, that's a new set of judges, but from MeWe 360 and Deutsche Bank. And then the finalists pitch to judges from the creative industries that are selected based on their expertise. And
thank you, Martine. Someone asked, what happens after 12 months mentorship ends? Do you continue monitoring activities of the winners, the progress they make or not?
In a light touch way, there is no obligation in terms of reporting, but the program and delivery partners, MeWe 360 is always keen to maintain a relationship, as is Deutsche Bank, in supporting the growth of the businesses. But the deliverable, the promise of the one-to-one support ends, but then there's always ways of keeping in touch and following your work and supporting your work, whether it's in resharing or attending events or getting you involved in opportunities. That happens multiple times.
And I believe she has her hand raised.
Hi, sorry. You might have covered this and I didn't understand it properly. So if you have, I'm really sorry to ask the question. In terms of the short list or the long list that gets announced in May, does that mean that folks are successful and they start the program, but funding hasn't been allocated to the selected studios, and that allocation happens in the prize ceremony when it all gets judged? Or have I misunderstood it?
Yeah, no question, silly. It's a great question. So the membership, the 12-month support starts one after the awards event. It's separate from the long-listed applicant support sessions, such as the pitching masterclass and feedback sessions. So it's the support that goes to applicants, long-listed applicants, to develop the pitch is part of the support offered by the DBACE program as part of the application support, sort of like this webinar. And then the 12 months begins as a result of the awards event, which is on the 4th of July this year. And that is off the bat. So once the winners are announced, there is funding attached, there is the support attached, and then off the back of that, then there are decisions made and offers made to finalists in terms of the business support aspect.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
that was at the end of questions, I think, unless anyone has any other questions. No?
Sorry, can I just say something? It's not really a question, but I just wanted to thank you for your time and sharing, you know, how we could potentially win this fund. It's a great fund, and I applied a couple years ago, so I'm hoping that we win this time. Nice. Well, good luck for it. Thanks for your comment. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your engagement. I hope this webinar was useful. If anyone has any last questions, feel free to unmute yourself. But yeah, in the meantime and otherwise, a big thank you to all of you for your attention. Best of luck with your applications. Do make the most of all the resources and support sessions that are available. Thanks again to Sarah and Shiva from MeWe360, as well as Jane for the captioning. And if you would like to review this webinar, I believe it is recorded and will be made available shortly.